Hey, Jim, for some reason, your audio is not coming through. Is your headphone dead?
There we go.
Oh, yeah.
Now you can hear. Now you should hear me. I forgot when I went and got my tea that I hit the button on the side so you wouldn't hear the coffee maker gargling. And then I forgot to unmute it, and I unmuted here. All right, so we're good. So 3 sections, 71 questions.
We're up to chapter 8. Oh, I'm way behind.
We are in chapter 8. So whoever's behind can go up to the YouTube and get caught up. There's lots of videos up there now. What is the highest modulation index permitted at the highest modulation frequency for angle modulation below 29 megahertz? A, 0.5, B, 1.0, C, 2.0, or D, 3.0? Go ahead and unmute and shout it out. Correct answer is Bravo 1.0. What is the modulation index of an FM signal? A, the ratio of frequency deviation to modulating signal frequency. B, the ratio of modulating signal amplitude to frequency deviation. C, the type of modulation used by the transmitter. Or D, the bandwidth of the transmitted signal divided by the modulating signal frequency.
Alpha.
Alpha is correct. For $200, how does the modulation index of a phase modulated emission vary with RF carrier frequency? A, it increases as the RF carrier frequency increases. B, it decreases as the RF carrier frequency increases. C, it varies with the square root of the RF carrier frequency. D, it does not depend on the RF carrier frequency.
Delta.
Delta is correct. It does not depend on the RF carrier frequency. What is the modulation index of an FM phone signal having a maximum frequency deviation of 3000 Hertz either side of the carrier frequency when the modulating frequency is 1000 Hertz? A, 3, B, 0.3, C, 3000, or D, 1000?
Alpha.
Alpha is correct, 3. What is the deviation? What is the modulation index of an FM phone signal having a maximum carrier deviation of plus or minus 6 kilohertz when modulated with a 2 kilohertz modulating frequency? A, 6000, B, 3, C, 2000, or D, 1/3?
Bravo.
B, Bravo is correct, 3. What is the deviation ratio of an FM phone signal having a maximum frequency swing of plus or minus 5 kilohertz when the maximum modulation frequency is 3 kilohertz? A, 60, B, 0.167, C, 0.6, or D, 1.67?
Delta.
Delta is correct, 167. What is the deviation ratio of an FM phone signal having a maximum frequency swing of plus or minus 7.5 kilohertz when the maximum modulation frequency is 3.5 kilohertz? A 2.14, B 0.214, C 0.47, or D 47?
Alpha.
Alpha.
Alpha is correct, 2.14. What is deviation ratio? A, the ratio of the audio modulating frequency to the center carrier frequency. B, the ratio of the maximum carrier frequency deviation to the highest audio modulating frequency. C, the ratio of the carrier center frequency to the audio modulating frequency. Or D, the ratio of the highest audio modulating frequency to the average audio modulating frequency.
Bravo.
Correct answer is Bravo, the ratio of the maximum carrier frequency deviation to the highest audio modulating frequency. What is frequency division multiplexing? A, the transmitted signal jumps from band to band at a predetermined rate. B, two or more information streams are merged into the baseband, which then modulates the transmitter. C, the transmitted signal is divided into packets of information. D, two or more information streams are merged into a digital combiner, which then pulse position modulates the transmitter.
Bravo. Bravo.
Bravo is correct. What is digital time division multiplexing? A, two or more data streams are assigned to discrete subcarriers on an FM transmitter. B, two or more signals are arranged to share discrete time slots of a data transmission. C, two or more data streams share the same channel by transmitting time of transmission as the subcarrier. Or D, two or more signals are quadrature modulated to increase bandwidth efficiency.
Bravo.
Bravo is correct. Section 8.2. There's multiple protocols. We'll be doing this several times. What is the definition of symbol rate in a digital transmission? A, the number of control characters in a message packet. B, the duration of each bit in a message sent over the air. C, the rate at which the waveform changes to convey information. Or D, the number of characters carried per second by the station-to-station link. Correct answer is Charlie, the rate at which the waveform changes to convey the information. How may data rate be increased without increasing bandwidth? A, it is impossible. B, increasing analog to digital conversion resolution. C, using a more efficient digital code. Or D, using forward error correction.
C.
Charlie.
Charlie is correct. It is no, it is not impossible. Charlie, using a more efficient digital code. I like that. Hey, it's impossible. What is the relationship between symbol rate and baud? A, they are the same. B, baud is twice the symbol rate. C, symbol rate is only used for packet-based modes. D, baud is only used for RTTY.
Alpha.
Alpha is correct. They are the same. How do ALE stations establish contact? A, ALE constantly scans. Somebody's got a lot of background. Who is that? Can't tell. Ah, there it is. How do ALE stations establish contact? A, ALE constantly scans a list of frequencies, activating the radio when the designated call sign is received. B, ALE radios monitor an internet site for the frequency they are being paged on. C, ALE radios use a constant tone code to establish a frequency for future use. D, ALE radios activate when they hear their signal echoed by the backscatter. Alpha is correct. ALE constantly scans a list of frequencies, activating the radio when the designated call sign is received. I use that in our Mars work. Which of the following HF digital modes use variable length coding for bandwidth efficiency? A, RTTY, B, PACTOR, C, MT63, or D, PSK31?
Delta.
No.
Delta is correct. PSK31. What is the advantage of including parity bits in ASCII characters? A, faster transmission rate. B, the signal can overpower interfering signals. C, foreign language characters can be sent. Or D, some types of errors can be corrected.
D, delta.
Delta is correct. Some types of errors can be detected. What are some of the differences between the Baudot digital code and ASCII? Baudot uses 4 data bits per character. ASCII uses 7 or 8. Baudot uses 1 character as letters and figures. Shift code. ASCII has no letters and figure code. Oh boy, this is just going to be fun. Baudot uses 5 data bits per character. ASCII uses 7 or 8. Baudot uses 2 characters as letters and figures, shift codes. ASCII has no letters and figures shift code. C, Baudot uses 6 data bits per character. ASCII uses 7 or 8. Baudot has no letters and figures shift code. ASCII uses 2 letters and letters, figures, shift codes. Last one. Baudot uses 7 data bits per character. ASCII uses 8. Baudot has no letters and figures shift code. ASCII uses 2 letters, figures, shift code. And after all of that, the answer
Bravo.
is bravo.
Oh,
And I will not repeat all of that, but yeah, it's has a letters and shift code, and ASCII doesn't, and 5 data bits. 7 for ASCII, 7 or 8 for ASCII. What is one advantage of using ASCII code for data communication? A, it includes built-in error correction features. B, it contains fewer information bits per character than any other code. C, it is possible to transmit both upper and lower case text. Or D, it uses 1 character as a shift code to send numeric and special characters.
Charlie.
Charlie.
Charlie is correct. It is possible to transmit both upper and lower case text. What is the approximate bandwidth of a 13 word per minute international Morse code transmission? A, 13 hertz, B, 26 hertz, C, 52 hertz, or D, 104 hertz? Charlie is
Oh.
correct. 52 hertz. What?
Jim, you skipped a question. E8CO9?
I did.
That's okay.
So that was 8-7. How did I? So that goes in between. Hang on a sec. Let me grab my pen. So I add it in. So next time I don't goof it up. Okay, you said E
8CO9.
8C09
Page 88.
8-8. Was that 8-8? I'm not seeing it.
It's under the
Is it
bold
under?
gray code. Right above the table, 8.2.
Oh, gray code. Gray code. Yeah. Okay. I see it now.
Yeah, it's really hard to see. So.
And it's just bolded. Okay. Yeah, I did miss that because I didn't, that it kind of blended my eyes right into that. Okay. Hang on a sec. So I will read it from the back just so we get it covered. E8C09. Which digital code allows only one bit to change between sequential code values? A, binary coded decimal code. B, extended binary coded decimal interchange code. C, XS3 code. Winner. D, gray code. Okay, I will add that in there. Thank you for catching that, because I definitely missed it. So C09, that would have been, okay, so right there. So CW. Okay, we did that one. It's 52. What factors affect the bandwidth of a transmitted CW signal? A, IF bandwidth and Q. B, modulation index and output power. C, keying speed and shape factor, rise and fall time. Or D, all these choices are correct.
Charlie.
Charlie is correct. Keying speed and the shape factor are the rise and the fall time. What is the primary effect of extremely short rise or fall time on a CW signal? A, more difficult to copy. B, the generation of RF harmonics. C, the generation of key clicks. Or D, limits data speed. Correct answer is Baker. Nope. Charlie, the generation. I thought it was harmonics. Oh yeah, I guess it is key clicks.
But that's what you hear because the harmonics are being generated.
Table 8-9. Or that is interesting. Why does it not? Yeah, that is what you hear is the key clicks, but I remember the video said the harmonics were generated.
Well, if you've ever tuned away from a
Oh yeah,
clicky key signal, you'll hear it, and that's
yeah.
because of the harmonics.
So in the book it says this is why hard keying waveforms with extremely short rise and fall times, 1 millisecond or less, causes key clicks. The burst of harmonics modulating a signal in CW is, after all, an AM signal, appear as signals on nearby frequencies. So yeah, okay. Charlie is the correct answer for the test. The generation of key clicks. What is the most common method of reducing key clicks? A. Increase keying waveform rise and fall times. B. A low-pass filter at the transmitter output. C. Reduce keying waveform rise and fall times. Or D. High-pass filters at the transmitter output. That's correct. Increase the keying waveform rise and fall. No, wait a sec. I thought you would want to.
No, that can't be right.
I think this one's wrong.
I do too. What is it? E8D05.
Why do you say that? So increasing the time will smooth out that square wave edge. So
Oh, okay,
No,
yeah.
they're
Increase the
saying
rise and
increasing
fall.
the time.
time.
rounds off.
Alpha.
Yeah, increasing the time.
Yep. It's there in the book again. Boy, that's two questions I failed now. Okay. Alpha is correct. Increase.
I still think the previous question should have been all of the above.
That one?
Well, it doesn't limit data speed, that's for sure. So
Well, that's true, because you're doing this sort of really sharp edged, really abrupt,
Right.
right? That's the whole
Mhm.
concept. Yeah.
Well, that's two. I guess that's why I don't
increasing
do
the
CW.
time is just rounding off the corner. Not this way. It's rounding off the amount of time it takes to go from 0 up. So it's just kind of slanting it.
Yeah. Okay. 8.2 digital protocols. Now we're going to go through FSK, AFSK, PSK, packet radio, and APRS, HF packet, and PACTOR. 17 questions. Told you there's a lot of these. Which of the following types of modulation is common for data emissions below 30 megahertz? A. DTMF tones modulating an FM signal. B. FSK. C. Pulse modulation. Or D. Spread spectrum. Correct
Bravo.
answer
Bravo.
is Bravo, FSK, frequency shift keying. What is indicated when one of the ellipses in an FSK cross ellipse display suddenly disappears? A. Selective fading has occurred. B. One of the signal filters is saturated. C. The receiver has drifted 5 kilohertz from the desired receive frequency. D. The mark and space signals have been inverted. The
Alpha.
correct answer is alpha. Selective fading has occurred. What is the difference between FSK and audio FSK? A. Direct FSK applies the data signal to the transmitter VFO, while AFSK transmits tones via phone. B. Direct FSK occupies less bandwidth. C. Direct FSK can transmit faster baud rates. D. Only direct FSK can be decoded by computer. Correct answer is
Alpha.
alpha. What is the bandwidth of a 170 hertz shift 300 baud ASCII transmission? A, 0.1 hertz, B, 0.3 kilohertz, C, 0.5 kilohertz, or D, 1.0 kilohertz? Correct answer is Charlie, 0.5 kilohertz. What is the bandwidth of a 4800 hertz frequency shift 9600 baud ASCII FM transmission? A, 15.36 kilohertz, B, 9.6 kilohertz, C, 4.8 kilohertz, or D, 5.76 kilohertz?
Alpha.
Alpha is correct, 15.36 kilohertz. Which of these digital modes has the narrowest bandwidth? A, MFSK16, B, 170 hertz shift 45 baud RTTY, C, PSK31, or D, 300 baud packet? Correct answer is Charlie. PSK31 has the narrowest bandwidth. Why should phase shifting of a PSK signal be done at the zero crossing of the RF signal? A, to minimize bandwidth, B, to simplify modulation, C, to improve carrier suppression, or D, all these choices are correct? Correct answer is alpha, to minimize the bandwidth. What technique minimizes the bandwidth of a PSK31 signal? A, zero-sum character encoding, B, Reed-Solomon character encoding, C, use of sinusoidal data pulses, D, use of trapezoidal data pulses? Correct answer is Charlie, the use of sinusoidal data pulses. What technology is used to track in real time balloons carrying amateur radio transmitters? A, ultrasonics, B, bandwidth compressed LoRaN, C, APRS, D, Doppler shift of beacon signals?
Charlie.
Charlie is correct, APRS. What digital protocol is used by APRS? A, PACTOR, B, 802.11, C, AX.25, D, mTOR?
Charlie?
Charlie is correct, the AX.25 protocol. What type of packet frame is used to transmit APRS beacon data? A, unnumbered information, B, disconnect, C, acknowledgement, or D, connect? Correct answer is alpha, unnumbered information. How can an APRS station be used to help support a public service communications activity? A, an APRS station with an emergency medical technician can automatically transmit medical data to the nearest hospital. B, APRS stations with general personnel scanners can automatically relay the participant numbers and the time they pass the checkpoints. C, an APRS station with a global positioning system unit can automatically transmit information to show a mobile station's position during the event, or D, all these choices are correct. Charlie is correct. Which of the following data are used by the APRS network to communicate station location? A, polar coordinates, B, time and frequency, C, radio direction finding spectrum analysis, or D, latitude and longitude.
Delta.
Delta.
Delta is correct, the latitude and longitude. What is the most common data rate used for HF packet? A, 48 baud, B, 110 baud, C, 300 baud, or D, 1200 baud.
Charlie.
Yeah.
Charlie is
Charlie.
correct, 300 baud. Which of these digital modes has the fastest data throughput under clear communication conditions? A, Amtor, B, 170 Hz shift 45 baud RTTY, C, PSK31, D, 300 baud packet.
Delta.
Delta is correct, the 300 baud packet. Which of these digital modes does not support keyboard to keyboard operation? A, PACTOR, B, RTTY, C, PSK31, or D, MFSK.
Alpha.
Alpha is correct. The PACTOR does not support keyboard to keyboard operation. Which of the following HF digital modes can be used to transfer binary files? A, Hellschreiber, B, PACTOR, C, RTTY, or D, MTOR.
Bravo.
Correct answer is Bravo, the PACTOR. And you're paying for shipping those binary files.
I had a question about that once upon a time because a binary file is an encoded file and therefore it's obscuring the meaning. But there is PACTOR monitor mode, but you're not going to get anything out of it. Just an FYI.
Yeah. Well, I stayed away from it because they're $800 to $1,000 plus.
Yeah, but you can do it with Vara now
Exactly.
and get
Now you
nearly the
can
same speed.
Yep.
Not quite on HF. Anyway,
I was pretty
that's for another
surprised.
discussion.
We did some testing down at the Red Cross Radio and did side-by-side binary pictures, black and white and color, trying to figure out how large of one we could send over HF, and Vara did pretty well.
Do you remember what the rates were? Because somebody was asking me that the other day in ACS. And I said, gee, I don't know, because I was playing around with it right before we switched to the other version of Vara.
No, I don't have it handy. I just know that a side-by-side was way faster with Vara than it was with the PACTOR. And to be fair, it was a PACTOR 3, but still.
Yep. Okie dokie, thanks. All right. I think this was the last of the digital protocols. WSJTX modes, OFDM modulation, transmitting digital mode signals, spread spectrum techniques, and amateur spread spectrum applications. What type of modulation is used for JT65 contacts? A. Multitone AFSK. B. PSK. C. RIDI. Or D. IEEE 802.11.
Alpha.
JT65 is alpha, multitone AFSK. How is the timing of FT4 contacts organized? A. By exchanging ACK and NAC packets. B. Stations take turns on alternate days. C. Alternating transmissions at 7.5 second intervals. D. It depends on the lunar phase on alternate days. No.
Charlie.
Charlie is correct. I love those distractors. Alternate days and on the lunar phase. Charlie, geez. Orthogonal frequency division multiplexing is a technique used for which type of amateur communication? A. High-speed digital modes. B. Extreme low power contacts. C. EME. D. OFDM signals are not allowed on amateur bands. Correct
Alpha.
answer is alpha, high-speed digital modes. What describes orthogonal frequency division multiplexing? A frequency modulation technique that uses non-harmonically related frequencies. B, a bandwidth compression technique that using Fourier transforms. C, a digital mode for narrowband, slow speed transmissions. D, a digital modulation technique using subcarriers at frequencies chosen to avoid intersymbol interference. Correct
Delta.
answer is delta.
The longest answer.
The longest answer this time. Which of the following is a possible reason that attempts to initiate contact with a digital station on a clear frequency are unsuccessful? A, your transmit frequency is incorrect. B, your protocol version you are using is not supported by the digital station. C, another station you are unable to hear is using the frequency. I had to reread that for a second. Or D, all these choices are correct.
Oh.
I
Yep.
bet delta is correct. What is a common cause of overmodulation of AFSK signals? A, excessive number of retries. B, ground loops. C, bit errors in the modem. Or D, excessive transmit audio levels.
Delta.
Delta is correct, excessive transmit audio levels. What parameter evaluates distortion of an AFSK signal caused by excessive input audio levels? A, signal to noise ratio. B, baud rate. C, repeat request rate, RRR. D, intermodulation distortion, IMD. Correct answer is delta, intermodulation distortion, or IMD. What is considered an acceptable maximum IMD level for an idling PSK signal? A, plus 10 dB, B, plus 15 dB, C, minus 20 dB, or D, minus 30 dB? Excuse me.
Delta.
Yeah.
Delta is correct, minus 30 dB. Why are received spread spectrum signals resistant to interference? A, signals not using the spread spectrum algorithm are suppressed in the receiver. B, the high power used by a spread spectrum transmitter keeps its signal from being easily overpowered. C, the receiver is always equipped with a digital blanker. D, if interference is detected by the receiver, it will signal the transmitter to change frequencies.
Alpha.
No.
Alpha is correct. The signals not using the spread spectrum algorithm are suppressed in the receiver. What spread spectrum communications technique uses a high-speed binary bit stream to shift the phase of an RF carrier? A, frequency hopping. B, direct sequence. C, binary phase shift keying. Or D, phase compandered spread spectrum. Correct
Bravo.
answer is bravo. Direct sequence on your compandered. Yeah, okay. I like these. How does the spread spectrum technique of frequency hopping work? A, if interference is detected by the receiver, it will signal the transmitter to change frequencies. B, if interference is detected by the receiver, it will signal the transmitter to wait until the frequency is clear. C, a binary bit stream is used to shift the phase of an RF carrier very rapidly in a pseudo-random sequence. D, the frequency of the transmitted signal is changed very rapidly according to the pseudo-random sequence also used by the receiving station. Correct
Delta.
answer is delta, the longest answer again. Which of the following frequencies are sometimes used for amateur radio mesh networks? A, HF frequencies where digital communications are permitted. B, frequencies shared with various unlicensed wireless data services. C, cable TV channels 41 through 43. D, the 60-meter band channel centered on 5373 kilohertz. Correct answer is bravo. Frequencies shared with various unlicensed wireless data services. They're actually minus 0 channel, minus 1 channel, minus 2 channel in your 5 megahertz bands. Or no, yeah, 5. Fun stuff. What type of equipment is commonly used to implement an amateur radio mesh network? A, 2-meter VHF transceiver with a 1200 baud modem. B, an optical cable connection between the USB ports of 2 separate computers. C, a wireless router running custom firmware. D, a 440 megahertz transceiver with a 9600 baud modem.
Charlie.
Charlie is correct. A wireless router running custom software.
See, now that was the difference between what the book says and what this question is. It says software in the book and this says firmware.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if it makes a difference, but it's custom either or.
12. Oh, 09. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong one. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it does say custom software, and this one is custom firmware. Just out of curiosity, what does the back look like? Because
Well,
the
the
back,
answer in the book says firmware.
yeah, so it looks like a typo then on the 2E2C09. So in the back, it has exactly this, the firmware. So I think that the book on page 8-16 should be updated, because the blue section in the back with the question pools is what the VECs are using. So firmware is the correct in the book.
It's just semantics.
Semantics, yeah. But good catch. What technique do individual nodes use to form a mesh network? A. Forward error correction and Viterbi codes. B. Acting as store and forward digipeaters. C. Discovery and link establishment protocols. D. Custom code plugs for the local trunking systems. Correct
Charlie.
answer is Charlie. Discovery and link establishment protocols. Last section for the digital protocols. This has 3 in error detection and correction. What do the letters FEC mean as they relate to digital operation? A. Forward error correction. B. First error correction. C. Fatal error correction. Or D. Final error correction.
Alpha.
That is right. Alpha is correct. Forward error correction. How is forward error correction implemented? A. By the receiving station repeating each block of 3 data characters. B. By transmitting a special algorithm to the receiving station along with the data characters. C. By transmitting extra data that may be used to detect and correct transmission errors. Or D. By varying the frequency shift of the transmitted signal according to a predefined algorithm.
Charlie.
Charlie is correct, by transmitting extra data that may be used to detect and correct transmission errors. How does ARQ accomplish error correction? A. Special binary codes provide automatic correction. B. Special polynomial code polynomial codes provide automatic correction. C. If errors are detected, redundant data is substituted. D. If errors are detected, a retransmission is requested. Correct
Delta.
answer is delta. If errors are detected, a retransmission is requested. Okay, back to 1978 with some amateur TV questions. Or actually, I haven't done this, but looks like a lot of fun. What technique allows commercial analog TV receivers to be used for fast scan TV operations on the 70 centimeter band? A. Transmitting on channels shared with cable TV. B. Using converted satellite TV dishes. C. Transmitting on the abandoned TV channel number 2. D. Using upper sideband and demodulating the signal with a computer sound card? Correct answer is alpha, transmitting on channels shared with cable TV. How many times per second is a new frame transmitted in fast scan NTSC television system? A 30, B 60, C 90, or D 120? Correct answer is alpha 30. How many horizontal lines
Oh,
make up a fast scan NTSC television frame? A 30, B 60, C 525, or D 1080?
525, C.
525, C is correct. Old school stuff.
Yep.
How is an interlace scanning pattern generated in a fast scan NTSC television system? A, by scanning two fields simultaneously. B, by scanning each field from bottom to the top. C, by scanning lines from left to right in one field and right to left in the next. D, by scanning odd numbered lines in one field and even numbered lines in the next.
Delta.
Delta is correct, and there's two L's in lines. E2B03, I don't think anybody's gonna. D has two L's. Yines. I wonder if that's Spanish for lines. No, I don't think so. Okay. What is the name of the signal component that carries color information in NTSC video? A, luminance. B, chroma. C, hue. D, spectral intensity. My chroma.
You were going to say that. Bravo. I was thinking of myself.
Yeah. My chroma. Which of the following describes the use of vestigial sideband in analog fast scan television transmissions? A, vestigial sideband carries the audio information. B, vestigial sideband contains chroma information. C, vestigial sideband reduces bandwidth while allowing for simple video detector circuitry.
Bravo.
D, vestigial sideband provides high frequency emphasis to sharpen the picture. And we have Bravo is one of the, nope, it says C,
Charlie.
vestigial, Charlie is correct. Vestigial sideband reduces bandwidth while allowing for simple video detector circuitry. What is vestigial sideband modulation? A, amplitude modulation in which one complete sideband and a portion of the other are transmitted. B, a type of modulation in which one sideband is inverted. C, narrowband FM modulation achieved by filtering one sideband from the audio before frequency modulating the carrier. D, spread spectrum modulation achieved by applying FM modulation following single sideband amplitude modulation. I like that one. That's the longest. But the correct answer is
Alpha.
alpha, amplitude modulation in which one complete sideband and a portion of the other are transmitted. What special operating frequency restrictions are imposed on slow scan TV transmissions? A, none. They're allowed on all amateur frequencies. B, they are restricted to 7.245 megahertz, 14.245 megahertz, 21.345 megahertz, and 28.945 megahertz. C, they are restricted to phone band segments. D, they are not permitted above 54 megahertz. Slow scan is C, Charlie. They are restricted to phone band segments. How is color
It's 8
information?
o'clock.
You're right, it is. Alexa, tell me the temperature. Darn it. Doesn't. Oh, my Alexa did. How is color information sent in analog SSTV? A, color lines are sent sequentially. B, color information is sent on a 2.8 kilohertz subcarrier. C, color is sent in a color burst at the end of each line. D, color is amplitude modulated on the frequency modulated intensity signal.
See, Charlie.
Alpha.
Sequentially.
Alpha is correct. Color lines are sent
I don't know
sequentially.
how they dream up these detractors.
Alrighty. What aspect of an analog slow scan television signal encodes the brightness of the picture? A, tone frequency. B, tone amplitude. C, sync amplitude. Or D, sync frequency.
Alpha.
Alpha is correct, the tone frequency. What is the function of the vertical interval signal, or VIS code, sent as part of an SSTV transmission? A, to lock the color burst oscillator in color SSTV images. B, to identify the SSTV mode being used. C, to provide vertical synchronization. Or D, to identify the call sign of the station transmitting. Correct answer is Bravo, to identify the SSTV mode being used. What signals SSTV receiving software to begin a new picture line? A, specific tone frequencies. B, elapsed time. C, specific tone amplitudes. Or D, a two-tone signal. Correct answer is alpha, specific tone frequencies. Amateur television, digital SSTV. Which of the following is an acceptable bandwidth for digital radio mondial? DRM based phone, voice or SSTV digital transmissions made on the HF amateur bands. A, 3 kilohertz. B, 10 kilohertz. C, 15 kilohertz. Or D, 20 kilohertz. Correct answer is alpha, 3 kilohertz. What hardware, other than a receiver with SSB capability and a suitable computer is needed to decode SSTV using Digital Radio Mondiale, DRM. I like saying that. Mondiale. A special IF converter. B, a special front-end limiter. C, a special notch filter to remove synchronization pulses. Or D, no other hardware is needed.
Delta.
Delta, no other hardware is needed. Dib, 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 that's all, folks. Man, I timed that one, a little bit late. So that was a ton of fun. What do you think? Questions?
I'm curious, how many, raise your hand if you've already done slow scan TV? Nobody?
What would you call the stuff coming off the satellite?
The same
Those
thing.
are single images. Yeah, so I've done those. I just said it was one image.
Yeah, those are slow scan TV from the ISS that they send down. And
Okay,
yeah,
so you've heard what the signal sounds like.
Yeah. But I haven't done it in a long time. I know when I first got licensed, I was hunting and exploring all kinds of fun stuff. And then I keep finding other rabbit holes to get into. And then when I looked into trying to do the amateur TV, I was going, wow, that looks like a lot of cool stuff. Holy smokes, look at the expense of some of that equipment. But yeah, the digital net that they had on VHF, or the repeaters, they would send pictures every once in a while. I remember that.
Yeah, we do. It's not slow scan per se. They use the MFSK mode.
Mm-mm.
It's not the standard synchronization that you'd see on slow scan TV. I'm going to have to experiment there and listen to see if what they send can be decoded by the other program.
Yeah, I remember you had to have a different program for the Monday night to get those pictures. You started to say something, Michelle?
Well, I was going to say I was always in the fast scan because that aligned with my career. And I started building a couple of different, we'll say modulators. Anyway, and had that operation kind of down. Then I got sidetracked, like a lot of things get sidetracked. So I didn't make my own, but was always interested in it because, like I said, was aligned with my career.
Oh yeah, yep. Yeah, my dad was the same as you, Michelle. Would always mess around with the TV stuff, and so we would go over to Fred, his buddy, and he'd be doing stuff with the TV and things, and it was pretty neat. Got to see a few of those. Okie dokie. Wow, we knocked that one out in an hour. That's pretty good. So from what I see, we have antennas next week. 120 questions.
Ouch.
2 hours and 15 minutes of video. So that one will take up our 2 hours, I bet. Tonight was only 71 questions and an hour and 15.
I'd like to make a comment regarding chapter 9.
Sure.
On page 9-24 of the book, it uses in the calculation there are 3 examples of the same equation. It uses log -1. Not a lot of people know what log -1 means. And my math education is very limited. And I went bonkers trying to figure that one out. Log -1 is like 10x on your calculator key. Uh, But otherwise, boy, I had a heck of a time getting that information. Maybe somebody just knows, but I didn't.
Mhm. It's above my mat for my younger years, and I
I asked
definitely
3 different engineers who couldn't answer that question, electrical engineers. I finally got somebody that has RF experience, happens to work for the feds, and he was able to give me the answer. But I had to
Really?
get 4 different inquiries going, and fortunately, the 4th inquiry, log -1 is equivalent to 10x on your calculator.
it was just doing a Google of log -1. so, so it's equal to 10x on your.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, you can use, and the second question, are we going to be allowed to use I don't have a scientific calculator. Can I use the Windows scientific calculator as part of Windows 10?
Yes. Bless you. Yes, you can use the Windows calculator when you do the online.
So I don't have to go buy one.
No.
All right.
And then for in-person, they have a stack of calculators that are approved that don't have the little memory to plug in the formulas, that you can borrow the thing, because we are going to try to get some in-person again, distanced and all of that fun stuff. But yeah,
When will you know if that's going to happen?
it's happening now for the tech in general, because they just finished up. I'm working with Daniel Stevens, and they're planning on doing it at a place over in Ballard, at a youth center, and it is associated with a church. So we're all going to pray that we pass our tests, and that's, it's a religious function with limited access, that we're all praying that we pass our tests. But that's how we're gonna do it. It's Daniel's working on that. And no, it's not religious. Yeah, there you go. I like that, Will. That was good.
You're going to use
Freebird.
some kind of celestial antenna for that then, for the prayers to go out with more signal? Or?
Yeah.
Make sure it's halo shaped.
Oh, yeah.
Anthony, I'm gonna go grab my aluminum tin foil in the kitchen and make me a nice little hat.
It's an NVIS configuration.
There you go. Well,
Just rotate my mag loop 90 degrees.
yeah, be careful, because if you rotate it, you don't want to become horizontally polarized. You always want to stay vertically polarized. That's what I learned.
Yeah.
Just put a circle around your head and you'll be an angel.
There you go.
Jim, I can't wait for you to come with rabbit ears because all the rabbit holes you go down.
Yep. Thanks, Mark. I'll have to go dig through the attic and find the old rabbit ears. I do get a kick out of who is it? Somebody makes I think it was the Heil. You see him on Ham Nation, and now I can't think of her name now, but she has the little cat ears that are on the. I thought that was kind of cool. Okay, I'm gonna stop the recording because we're drifting off topics.